Bam! How's that? We got sound, Jan? Thank you very much for monitoring me out there. Let's start that all over again. I'll do an edit. Cut. Welcome to Livestream Mondays, Mastering Luminar, Part 5. So glad to have everybody here with me tonight. Hopefully you're getting audio now. Yes? Good audio, I hope. I'm showing an audio meter, so I'm hoping. I did want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be covering tonight. We're going to be talking about how we use Luminar as a plugin for Lightroom and for Photoshop. And we're also going to talk about how to use plugins in Luminar. We actually use plugins that we have for Lightroom and Photoshop inside Luminar. And last week we talked about masking. And I did want to remind everybody that we're live on Patreon, but we're actually live on YouTube. So if you're watching this over on Patreon, if you type over there and whatnot on the video, I don't get to see it until after the broadcast. But if you'd like to join us live and chat with us live, please click on the link below the video where you see you can come right to YouTube and you can talk to us live right here on the screen. And it's about a 20-second delay for me. So once the 20 seconds goes by, then I can pick up on your questions if you have any as we go along, and your ideas or comments or things like that. You never know what we're going to talk about, but we'll see what happens. I'm really happy to have you guys here tonight. And without further ado, let's get right to the screen share. All right. So you guys should be able to see there that we've got the chat up on the left, and this is Luminar right now loaded up in the PC version now. We're going to also be showing tonight, I can also show you the Mac version here. So we've got the PC and the Mac version both ready to go, and I'm going to show you the differences between those and what we're going to be talking about tonight. To start out, when you first load up Luminar, usually it will ask you whether or not you have Photoshop or whether or not you have Lightroom installed, and if you would like to install Luminar as a plugin. If you didn't get that though, and this does happen to folks, if you didn't get that, if you load up a Luminar and you load up this demo photo, or any photo actually, and you come up here, now this is on the PC version, I'll show you on the Mac as well. If you come up here to File and then down to Install Plugins, okay, right there. And when you click that, you're going to get this little window. And it's basically going to say, here it's going to say install. Now I've already done this, so it says uninstall, but I can uninstall and reinstall these. And sometimes if it doesn't work properly the first time, uninstall and reinstall will usually fix the problem. But what that's going to do is that's going to install these Luminar as a plugin in both Photoshop and Lightroom if you have either one of those programs. All right. So once you've got that installed, then whenever you, let me show you the Mac version too, because the Mac is a little different, but here's the Mac version of it. And in the Mac version, you're going to come over here to the Luminar, and you can see we have the install plugins right there for that. You click that, you get the little window here with all of my stuff. It comes up. You don't need to know any of that. But anyways, does that work? No, it doesn't work for my finger. Anyways, but you can see here that it wants to install all this. So here we'll just we'll sneak in my big password that I have here, so it'll be okay. It's okay, Apple. All right. So you can see here that it says to finish the installation and launch Luminar as a plugin, restart Adobe Photoshop. I do have it started in the background, and it did install it there, and you can install it for Elements and also for Aperture. That was an automatic install, by the way, and I do have Photoshop open, so what it was telling me to do is to actually close Photoshop and then restart it. So we'll just close out Photoshop, quit that, bye-bye now. All right, and then it'll do the install properly. So when I load up Photoshop over here and get that to load, it'll show up. There we go. And let's load up that photo that we had loaded. All right, so it will show up under Filter and then Skyloom Software right there. And you can see Luminar 2018 is included there. Let's go back to the PC now. I'm going to be showing you mostly on the PC until we get into other things. In the Photoshop version over here, and this is after we've done the install, if we go to filter, we can come down and we'll see Skyloom software here, and you'll also see the ability to load that up into Luminar. If I click this, it'll send this photo right over to Luminar. So let's go ahead and click that. And it takes just a second here. And it's loading up on another screen. Just so give me 1 second here to show it. We'll drag it over here. And here it is. So it loaded it right up in Luminar. Now I can go ahead and edit. Now there's something a little different when it loads up in Luminar like this that I want to show you. All right. So you can see over here that it's got these two new buttons, cancel and apply, because we're not loading this like a normal file. We're actually sending it over as a file from Photoshop. So once it's loaded, once we do all of our things to it, we do our, our editing and all this kind of stuff, maybe sky enhance or something, or the AI. Let's throw the AI filter in there because we love the AI filter. Can't get enough. We'll throw that in there. There we go. Some AI, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Just messing around with it. But once I hit apply, it will actually export the image. And you can see it's fairly fast. This was a full raw image, by the way, just so you guys know. And it's going ahead and it's exporting. Now, keep in mind that I'm also streaming and doing all this crazy stuff all at the same time. All right, I see we have a few viewers out there. So there it is. It's going to come right back into Photoshop now for us. And I'm going to show you guys Lightroom too. So never fear. So there it is, back into Photoshop, and it's ready to be edited some more or whatever we want to do, or save it and whatnot. So it's very simple to go between Luminar and Photoshop. Let's show you what it's like to go between Lightroom and Luminar. So here's an image from Yellowstone. I can go ahead and make some adjustments here. I can get rid of that little dot right there. Got some noise here in the camera. One of the things when you're shooting in West Thumb is it's usually there is a lot of detritus in the air, and it tends to get your lens pretty dirty while you're shooting there. So I can make all my adjustments that I want to make. I don't want to make too many because I really want to do it mostly in Luminar, but I got rid of the dust spots, right? Now I want to take it over into Luminar. So Lightroom is a little different. A lot of times you'll just right click, and again, we're in Windows here, and you can export, and you can see you can add it as an export to Luminar, open source files, or edit adjustments. You can send it over that way, or you can also go to File and then plug in extras, and then you can say export there to Luminar. So I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to transfer to Luminar. Luminar, of course, is going back to my main monitor, but here it is loading up. And again, this is a raw image, so you're seeing this in real time. So you're seeing the speed on the PC, and this is a 42 megabyte image. So you can see here that the adjustments that I made aren't showing, but that's okay, because once I put it back in Lightroom, they'll actually be reapplied. So I'm just going to quickly change this to a black and white. So there we have a nice black and white image, and then I can hit apply, and we'll give it a second here, and it'll close the Luminar window, and we'll go back to Lightroom, and it'll be in Lightroom for us. Again, this is real time. You're watching a live broadcast, so I'm not speeding this up or slowing it down, giving you just an idea of how long it takes for it to go back and forth between the two. Now, I did export it back, but Lightroom is kind of finicky sometimes about accepting photos back and forth between software. So if you don't see your photo pop up here and you have your sort set to capture time, you can right click on your folder and select synchronize folder, and you'll see here that there are two folders that are not synced right now, and one of those is actually going to be the black and white version of this geyser that I was at. So we'll give it a second here to find that, and it imports the files back in. Yep, that was an old file that and here's our file that we did, and it's exported back in as a TIFF. So we'll go ahead and open that and develop. And it did not apply the, you can see we still have that there. So I was wrong about that. So let's try it the other way. Let's go back to where we were. This should be a challenge to try to find where I was at. Let's see here. All right, I think it was in that folder. Yes, it was right there. Okay, so there's our file back in there. Of course, we could go ahead and do those adjustments, but let's pick the file that we actually did the adjustments on. Let's go to the develop module and make sure that everything's removed there. So if I do the right click and export here, I do have the option of editing this, and this is where it's different from the other option over here on the file menu, is it just sends the raw file right over there to Luminar. But if I right click on the file and I say export here down at the bottom, and then edit copy with Lightroom adjustments, then any adjustments I've made here will be transferred over to Luminar. So this time you should see that that it is now you can see it's repaired. So it kept my edits that I made in Lightroom. Hey Marge, how you doing? I'm very sorry it's wet down there. I know you guys are getting pummeled. I hope you're safe, and I hope everybody in Maryland is safe. And it's just a horrible videos from there. So we're thinking about you down there. So hopefully it's not too bad. I'll go ahead and make that black and white change here. And we'll go ahead and bump up the contrast. I like a high contrast image. This kind of stuff, and then we'll go ahead and apply it. And again, this is all in real time, so you're getting an idea of the speed of the editing and how long it actually takes to go back and forth. Now, I don't have a super cutting edge computer. I have an i7 6800 processor, and this time you'll notice that it brought it right back into Lightroom for me. And my edits, you can see there that the dust spots are still removed. So that's how you use Lightroom and Luminar together. Now let's just look at the Mac really quick because the Mac is a little different. So here we are over on the Mac, and I'm going to open up Lightroom if I can. We'll try to. I have to like wait. Well, let's open up Photoshop first, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it's showing Luminar right now, because I have Photoshop as the front screen. Let's go to Luminar and let's close that. And it's not updating, so let me just double check my browser source here. Give me 1 second, guys. A little technical difficulties going on. All right. And so for some reason it's showing you guys the wrong thing. Let me make sure that Scan Converter is actually showing you the right thing. Desktop. Well, we'll force it to show Photoshop. How's that? So there we go. That should force it to show Photoshop, although it seems like it's not live right now. My NDI source is not live for some reason. I don't know why. So you're not actually seeing a live version of what's going on over here on the Mac. So let's do this. Let's remove that. Yes, I would like to remove it. And let's just add it again. So you guys aren't seeing any of this, but I'm going to go ahead and add the Mac in back again. And MacBook and acceleration, alpha blending is all that. It's not showing. So let's see if we can get it to show up this time. Doesn't look like the NDI is wanting to work. So sometimes on the Mac we have to restart it. So we're going to quit it. It's probably going to error out. We'll restart the, there we go. All I had to do was hack it a little bit, right? Just hacking for the live stream. Oh, we gotta love, it's like live television, right? It can be crazy. So let me go ahead and make sure that we can transform this so that it fits to the screen, because we really want to fit it on. There we go. All right. So you guys should be seeing Photoshop now. And this is on the Mac. So we'll just keep that in mind. So on the Mac, basically I can come up here to filter, and then I can come down to Skyloom software and I can edit in Luminar. The other thing that you can do on a Mac that I don't think that you can do I don't think you can do this on a PC yet. I know it's coming, but let me just see here. I think that's full screen. Nope, and then that's completely gone. So I just want to show you guys like a shrunk down version of it. Are we okay? Are we okay there? All right. So I think on the Mac version, if you have Luminar and you've got a couple of windows going, like if you use two monitors, I believe that the ability to drag and drop, at least I know it is from Lightroom, is there. So it looks like we can't, whoops, looks like we can't just grab it and drop it. Let's just try it. No, we can't do that. So, but you can from Lightroom. So let me load up Lightroom and we'll show you how it works in Lightroom, because that's kind of an important feature, the drag and drop, especially. Oh, do I just use the default catalog? And oh no, I haven't run this in so long. Yay, lots of fun. Luckily, there's nothing in my catalog, so yay for that, right? All right, so we'll just set up, got it. And we'll just load in some folders here real quick. Let's just add a folder. Add a folder. Give me a folder. Any folder. One on the desktop. Quick, hurry. Everybody's waiting. All right, there we go. We'll choose that folder. So that should load in some files. So we'll import those. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Cool. All right, so we got some files in here. And we're just going to load these up real quick. These are not my files. These belong to a lot of different people. But I'm going to load up one of mine. And here's what's cool about Lightroom and Luminar working together on the Mac. So let's get rid of that. So here's the two of them together. And if I want to edit a file, I can actually just grab the file and bring it over here and drop it on Luminar, and it'll load right up. Now, if Luminar is not open, let's just close Luminar for the heck of it. Let's quit that. I can actually take the file and drag it all the way over and just put it on the icon, and it'll load Luminar as well. So the Mac version is a little bit different and has a few extra features that you don't get on the PC yet. The PC version is going to have this after a while. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. All right, so that kind of covers how we go from Luminar to Photoshop and Luminar to Lightroom. Right now, that's the only two programs that you can kind of edit with right now. So just keep that in mind, that for right now, you can really only go from Luminar to, or from Photoshop to Luminar, and from Lightroom to Luminar. But you can't use, like, say, Topaz and go into Luminar. You'd have to save the file off and then load it with Luminar. There's no cross sharing of files. But there's a very cool feature in the Mac version of Luminar that is coming to PC, and I want to share this with you guys. So let me just get this on the screen so that it's kind of filling the screen and not taking over the screen, so to speak. But we want to be able to really see it full screen. So there you go. This is very cool. So on the Luminar menu up at the top, when you have a photo open on the Mac, and like I said, this is coming to the PC. If you look across the top, you have an entry called plugins. Now, this is different from the plugins that you install when you install Luminar as a plugin. This is the ability to use third-party plugins within Luminar and use the plugins that you purchased for Photoshop. So if you have On1 plugins, if you have Topaz plugins, if you have Nik software plugins, if you have Landscape Pro, any of those, you actually can load those inside Luminar and use them, even if they were only written for Photoshop. So it's very cool. And I'm going to show you how it works. So I've already installed the Nik software plugins for Photoshop. And the way that you add these in is you go down here to the other, and you're gonna now I have a new one here I'm gonna add tonight. So you select open plugin, and you're gonna get your system dialog pop up here. And what you're gonna want to do is go to applications and then find Adobe Photoshop. It's right here. And then open the plugins folder. In there, you're going to see every plugin that's available for Photoshop and that you can actually make use of. So I'm going to load this new one called Landscape Pro, and I'm just going to select open. And what that's going to do is that's going to take my photo and it's going to open it up inside of Landscape Pro. So let's just show you how that works. So we're going to go to plugins now that I've added it, down here to other, and you should see Landscape Pro appear here. Now, it doesn't look like it has, so it may not be compatible. So that's something we haven't experienced yet. Let me try it one more time just to make sure. But some of these are not compatible. Here's Aurora and, of course, Luminar. And then inside Google, you'll see all of the Nik software ones. So let's just try this Landscape Pro one more time. Now, it might not be compatible, or it may have loaded behind it. So we're just going to make sure that it's not sneaking around here, because I did see some things loading up. Just close all of that. All right. Yeah, so that particular plugin does not work. But let's show you how another third-party plugin. Now, you know that if you have any of the old Mac Fun stuff, you actually can still use all of that if you like tonality, snap heal, and so on. I will tell you, though, that most of these have been incorporated already into the filters of Luminar, so it's not really needed to use any of those. But if you're more comfortable with them, they are there so that you can use them. So let's load in Color Effects Pro 4. Now, these Nik software plugins were always a favorite of mine, so it's really nice to be able to load these right up from within Luminar. And they work. I mean, it's great. I can go in here. I can go to Architecture. We can do Brilliance and Warmth. We can do Remove Color Cast. Any of this kind of stuff. We can make all of our adjustments here just like we would in Nik in the way we've always loved it. And you can see here, we can also use control points, which are great. If I want to use a control point in opacity, and we can spread that out. I mean, it's really super awesome that it allows us to essentially use all of this stuff that we would normally have only for Photoshop, and now we can actually use it from within Luminar itself. So let's just load in a couple more of these just to play with them. How about landscape? What do we got here? Detail extractor. Ooh, look at that. That's very, very punchy. Oh, we got some fog. We could put some fog in there. Reflector effects. There we go. All sorts of cool stuff. So we can go ahead and just kind of play around with our settings. And then when we're done, we can hit OK. And it's going to send it back to Luminar now with the adjustments done. So the way that we sent it over to Lightroom and from Lightroom to Luminar and then back to Lightroom, now we're sending it from Luminar to these choice plugins like the Nik software plugins. So it's very cool that you can actually do that. Now you cannot do that in the PC version. Let's go back to PC here for a second. And let's call up the Luminar. All right. So in Luminar, you can see we don't have that plugin menu here anywhere, unfortunately, yet. And it's coming. And, you know, I was on JPEG to RAW the other night with the photo review show, and Mike asked me about the digital asset management part of Luminar, and it is still coming as far as I know. I got a top secret announcement in my email, and it didn't give me a date and didn't give me a time. It just said that a lot of really cool things are happening, and it will include artificial intelligence, which I'm hoping what they are thinking about doing is including some sort of AI that can figure out the subject of the photo and then help you search and categorize using AI. I think this would be a huge boost to a photo library. If you can imagine that you need to go back through 10 years of photos and find maybe a photo of a cardinal, and you could just type in cardinal and it will go through all of your photos and show you every photo of a cardinal that you ever took. I think that would just be amazing. And so I think this is what they are hinting at that they want to do with the new digital asset management system, but please do not quote me on that, and please do not expect it. If it comes, it would be a wonderful surprise. I still don't know a date when it's going to be released. So I can just tell you that it is still coming, and I know that they're still working right now. I think right now we are on version. Let's take a look at our version here for. Let's see. We are on version 1.2.0.1886. You can steal my activation key there if you want to, but it's locked to my email address in my account, so no, you can't. So that's 1.2.886. And then on the Mac, let me just look on the Mac really quick over here, and we'll see if it tells me over here. Let's see about Luminar. Over here, we're on version 1.2.0.4245. So the PC version is quite a few behind where the Mac version is. They are on the same basic framework, but it seems like they still have a little ways to go. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in, man, and saying hello. You're on my stream. Hey, that's cool. I'm usually on your stream. So Mike's a longtime supporter of all the stuff that I do, and I totally appreciate him taking some time to stop by and say hello. I always like to take the end of the broadcast to open up a forum on questions that you may have on Luminar. So if you have some questions, please feel free to throw them in the YouTube chat. Now, if you're just joining us and you're watching this on Patreon, next time we do this, you definitely want to join us on YouTube, because Patreon is not monitored during the broadcast. So I can't monitor both screens, and basically I just monitor the YouTube chat. So you want to come over here and hang out with us in YouTube. This is where all the cool kids hang out anyway. And you can ask all your questions and do all that kind of stuff right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a photo, and I'm going to play around with it here for a little bit. And you guys, if you have any questions, I'll give you a few minutes to ask if you have any questions. One of the things I'm going to be doing this week, by the way, is I'm going to be editing some of my Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum photos. So I'm going to be doing this live. So if you are interested in just hanging out, watching me listen to music and process my photos, keep a watch on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put it on Patreon as well. And it's actually going to be public this time. So just so you know that everybody will be able to come and hang out with us. But it's one of those things that if you want to see some cool photos and see what we're doing with this old lunatic asylum and the way that I process some of these images for effect and for the look, and want to find out how I do this sort of thing, please keep a watch this week. Going forward, I need to get all these photos done, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And you never know what I'm going to do. I might do some stuff in Aurora. I might do some stuff in Luminar. I might just do it all in Photoshop, in Photomatix. You never know how it's going to turn out. So I use all the tools, and I think it can be very informative to watch someone process photos and kind of, I usually ramble on about, yes, and there's even photos of my buddy Walter, who was having so much fun flying his spaceship here while he got his hair drying. And so he always puts his head in these things when we're out, and I'm like, no way, man, I'm not putting my head in there. That's just no way. You never know what you're going to come home with. But anyways, I'll be processing these photos during the week. So if you guys have any questions, throw them at me. I am going to process a photo right now. Let's see. What do we want to do? Let's do this. This will probably make my PC hurt a lot, because I'm going to be processing this. Let's see, in HDR. So this is going to be an HDR photo. We're going to throw it over and develop. The very first thing I like to do with HDR photos is pick a photo in the middle. This is a creepy photo of, yes, a full-size casket in a morgue. And I usually pick my white balance first, just to make sure that's done. We've got these new profiles now. If you open up these profiles, are pretty cool. All this different stuff that you can have here. I like to use camera neutral. That's one of my favorites. It's basically fits my camera. And what it does is it neutralizes the image. So there's no boost to the colors or anything like that, because I really don't want any of the colors to be over processed. I don't make any changes to any of these things for my brackets, because we're going to just throw this into the software to combine them all together. So I don't want to make any adjustments because I might screw up the brackets. So the only things I'm doing right now are white balance, which has to be adjusted first. I'm also applying a lens profile here. I was using my 18 to 35 millimeter, and you can see here that I add that's a Zeiss lens. I'm sorry, this was a Zeiss 18 millimeter, so this was my Zeiss Batis lens. And you can see here the lens correction bends that. After I do that, I sync all of my frames together, and that gives me this little dialog right here. We'll synchronize. Remember, if you have any questions about Luminar and what we talked about tonight, or anything that you'd like to see in an upcoming episode, because I'm struggling for next week, I'll tell you, I am struggling because we've covered a lot of stuff here. But if you have questions, make sure that you're putting them in the chat tonight, so that we can address those either tonight or next week. And we might just do a processing night, or we might dive into Aurora HDR and talk a little bit about that. Maybe get a course on Aurora going as well. So I've got everything set here. I've got all my photos synced. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send these out to probably my go-to software is for this is to merge to 32-bit. So HDR Soft, which is Photomatix, merge to 32-bit, and that's going to make a 32-bit TIFF file that I'm going to get back. So if the stream gets very choppy right now, I apologize. It will be unchoppy in just a second as this finishes processing. So this is taken on a tripod. We want to aligned. I'm not removing any ghosts because, contrary to popular belief, even in this creepy image, there were no ghosts. And I'm also reducing noise in the normal and underexposed images. When then we hit merge, and then my processor starts to hurt really, really bad. Like I said, please forgive me. I'm going to get a drink here while this is going. Mike, I'm drinking a new drink that I think you would really like. I'm going to tell you about it. It's called BAI, B-A-I, and it's an antioxidant. And this one's called Cocoa Fusion, and it's coconut and pineapple, so it tastes like kind of like a Mai Tai. And the great thing about it is that there is only 1 gram of sugar in an 18 fluid ounce bottle. Yet it's still a nice, cool, like lemonade-y kind of drink for summer. BAI, B-A-I. Very good, and we've been really enjoying them. Yes, Aurora is proving to be quite the monster, and I am working on it every day to get better at it. It does. I found that like the presets are really easy to use, but if you want to get in and grind it out the way you like to do it, it becomes a little harder to wrangle in. So I'm slowly learning with it. My first results were not all that wonderful, but that's 1 gram per 18 fluid ounces too. So that's really good. And it's it's 4 or 5% natural fruit juice. 6% natural fruit juice as well. So I love coconut water. So this is like coconut water with pineapple in it. It's really awesome. It's great for summer. So I'm slowly learning with Aurora. So maybe we'll dive into Aurora a little bit, and I'll show you how I use Aurora and Luminar together. And since we've covered the old Lightroom and Photoshop stuff. So this should almost be just about finished here. I am putting quite a hurt on my computer with the streaming as well as trying to process a 32-bit HDR file. So it may take a little longer. And I also have Luminar open and I have Photoshop open. I'm going to close this. Let me exit out of there. All right, we'll close that for now. We don't need that. Let's close out of that. We'll get rid of that. And no, I don't want to see you. And there we are. We're back. Okay. So usually when I get the file back, which it doesn't, there it is. It's over here. So it usually looks like this. So it's basically not processed. I'll go ahead and do all of my typical adjustments Now remember, I'm working on the 32-bit file here, so I'm not sending it into Luminar just yet. I'll show you how I like to use Luminar, and then you guys can... so I usually pull the highlights down, I push the shadows up, and then I balance my overall exposure. Now this was a really dark shot, and there's a lot of noise and weirdness going on in here, which means I probably missed one of these images, or one of these images was actually like off center or something like that. But what I'll probably do is probably process this for more of a dark look. And then once I've got the basic look, which is pretty close here, at that point, let me just do the contrast. There we go. And sometimes I'll actually pick a white balance if it looks like it might be off a little bit. So might fiddle around with that, or sometimes I'll just do the old, let's let the auto. So auto white balance is saying that my white balance is good. I think the white out here is neutral, so I guess we are. This room was kind of artificially lit through these yellow curtains, so it kind of made the rest of the room sort of yellow. So we'll go with that. That's fine. I don't mind a warm image because we're going to process this anyway. So we got everything kind of looking good there. One of the things I like to do with all of my HDR images is pull the saturation down a little bit. You notice that if I go down about 20, the image starts looking a little bit more realistic. So they tend to be oversaturated at normal, and I usually like to pull them back a little bit, and that gives me that real kind of more natural look. Now that I've got a natural look for the photo, I'm now going to send it on over to Luminar. So we'll go ahead and send it over with the adjustments already done so we preserve the adjustments that were done in Lightroom. And now I've got it over here, and I can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. Now I start to process for the mood of the image. So I can go through my analog effects if I want to do something like, something really weird. It's very strange with textures and stuff. All that sort of stuff. Maybe the film, not sure. I like the low-mo tension is cool. That's kind of a cool look. But I think I think these are by the way, my custom presets that are available on my website for free. You can get all of these for free, these analog effects. So what I kind of like is this, but I don't like the texture, so I'm just going to turn that layer off. I really like this look. I think this is creepy and does a nice job. And if it's too much, if it seems like it might be a little too much, we can always go down here to the bottom and we can pull the filter amount back a little bit, and we can get just kind of a very slight effect on the image. And there we go. That kind of dials it into the creepiness, and that's kind of a look that I'm known for, is this low-mo kind of style. So as easy as that, I have the HDR image, I have the preset that I like, and I've dialed it in with a couple of tweaks, and boom, I can throw it back into Lightroom, and there it is. And I can go ahead and just be like, tag it as something good to go and move on. Now this image has got some issues here. You can kind of see in the center of the image, and I'm pretty sure that I selected one of the pre-processed images as part of the bracket, which I think I did. I think it might be that one. No, that's not it. One of these images I think was either pre-processed or something happened to it, because you can see that these images are all pretty clean. So I don't know. I didn't look through these files to see what I had here before I started going willy-nilly on them. So I usually do that though when I'm processing, especially if I've been through a series of photos first. So all right, guys, I think that's probably going to wrap it up. We don't have any more questions, it looks like, in the chat, so that's cool. We went about 40 minutes, which is usually what I like to keep these at. And I think next week we're gonna hit up Luminar. Remember that over in the Patreon page there is a tab on Patreon called Community, and if you would like a tutorial or if you would like help with a program, in the community is where to post. I check that. If I see that you've posted over there, I offer up the help there. So if you have a website question, if you have a processing question, we've talked about hard drives, we've talked about all sorts of like online backup, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you post over there. That's where I get my ideas for videos. If you want to see a series of videos, say on, I don't know, aerial photography or whatever, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be photography. It can be websites. It can be how to build a computer. I don't care. I'm just here to help you guys out with your tech stuff and your creativity. So that's the place to post it. And we'll be back here next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And next week we will talk about Luminar and Aurora together, and we'll do some processing. Look for some more posts during the week that I'll be doing, basically talking about, we'll be talking about actually doing live processing. So there probably won't be a lot of me talking, and it'll just be some music and me doing some work. So I hope to see you guys during those streams. They'll probably be more in the early evening or even in the afternoon. I don't know. And they'll be recorded in case you missed them. You'll be able to look on the Patreon page and find them and watch them back. So, all right, guys, I hope you had a really good Monday night and you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up if you would. We'll be sharing this video out in a couple of weeks. You guys get to see it first, and then I share it out to the world. So we will see you guys in the next one next week. All right, stay creative.